On this channel, we talk a lot about dementia, but in today's video, I want to talk about mild cognitive impairment. What is it? Is it the same as mild dementia? And what does it mean for your loved one? If you're new here, my name is Dr. Natali Edmonds. I'm a board-certified geropsychologist, and it's my mission in life to help as many dementia caregivers as possible through easy to understand and easy to access information like these videos. It would mean the world to me if you hit the red subscribe button on your screen. It's totally free, and it will make sure that you are alerted when I post a new video, and most importantly, it helps let the internet know that my videos are important for people who care about dementia, and it will be more likely, the internet algorithm would be more likely to show my videos to another caregiver in need somewhere out there in the world who does not yet know that these videos exist. First, let's break down the term mild cognitive impairment. We have the first word, mild, which means slight or minor. Then we have the word cognitive, which means thinking. And then we have impairment, which means loss. We put it all together, it basically means slight thinking loss or minor thinking loss. Those versions might make it a little bit easier to use as we talk about what mild cognitive impairment actually means. So how does one get a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment? For starters, a person must demonstrate loss in thinking in at least one area. There are many different areas of thinking, for example, attention, memory, processing speed, executive functioning, language abilities. But the key here is we're talking about loss of thinking or cognitive ability. Now, there are changes that happen normally as people age. In mild cognitive impairment, we're talking about changes that are not normal for aging. It's beyond what we would consider normal for aging. So you might be thinking right now, but this still sounds a lot like mild dementia. What's the difference? In the case of mild cognitive impairment, it's impacting the thinking, but it has not impacted the daily functioning, the person's ability to complete daily tasks, such as toileting, dressing, bathing, or even yet driving a car, managing finances. Whereas in dementia, even in mild dementia, the difficulty, the beginnings of the trouble in doing functioning daily activities are already starting to take place. So in mild cognitive impairment, you just have the thinking issues. When it comes to mild dementia, you're starting to have the thinking issues, plus you're adding in the difficulty with daily tasks. It basically covers the gray area in between normal aging and dementia. So how does one get mild cognitive impairment? Similar to dementia, MCI or mild cognitive impairment is just an umbrella term. It doesn't tell you anything about the underlying cause of that cognitive impairment. There are a number of different reasons why somebody might develop mild cognitive impairment. Those conditions can include depression, poor nutrition, diabetes, poor sleep. All of those things can impact a person's thinking to the point that they would get a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment. At this point, you might be wondering, if somebody has mild cognitive impairment, does that mean they are going to get dementia? Unfortunately, like so many answers when we're talking about brain health, the answer is it depends. As I just mentioned, mild cognitive impairment means there are symptoms of thinking problems, but it doesn't tell you what the underlying cause of those thinking problems is. Depending on the underlying cause of those thinking problems, that really determines the risk that somebody will go on to progress to a dementia diagnosis. There are basically three outcomes that can happen when somebody gets a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment. Number one, the person's thinking will continue to decline, and then their functioning will start to have trouble to the point that they do get a dementia diagnosis. Number two, there will be no further progression, but the person will continue having the thinking problems that they were demonstrating at the time of mild cognitive impairment diagnosis. So they're pretty much going to stay the same and continue keeping that mild cognitive impairment diagnosis. Or three, the person could potentially improve and no longer have that diagnosis. Now, if somebody does have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment, they are at greater risk for developing dementia down the line, but it's not a guarantee. So what does this mean if you or your loved one has been diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment? It means it's really important to take great care of yourself. Talk with your provider. Ask what you can do to help improve your thinking. What changes, lifestyle modifications you can make to your everyday life that can have significant benefit on your thinking. Look at the medical conditions that you or your loved one have and think about and talk to the doctor about what are things you can do to help improve those medical conditions. Even little improvements can have positive impact on brain function. If a primary cause of the thinking problems have to do with depression or another sort of mental health condition, absolutely talk to a mental health professional. All right, let's wrap up with a really quick summary. Mild cognitive impairment, also sometimes referred to as mild neurocognitive disorder, those two things are basically the same thing. It means somebody is having problems with their thinking beyond what would be expected for their age and education level, but those problems have not yet impacted their ability to do daily tasks. This diagnosis is different than dementia, where in dementia you need to show more significant problems in the thinking and also start to show problems completing daily tasks. People who have a diagnosis of mild cognitive impairment typically see three outcomes. They progress and develop dementia, they stay the same exactly where they are, or they start to improve and no longer meet criteria for mild cognitive impairment. And the outcomes really depend on the actions the person takes to start improving their health and the underlying cause of what is causing that to begin with. Careblazer, I hope this was helpful for you. You can leave any follow-up questions you might have below this video, or simply leave a comment on a future topic you want to see me talk about, and I will add it to my future video list. Keep up the great work, Careblazer. I'll be back next week. Also, make sure if you haven't already, click the red subscribe button so that you will stay on top of all new videos I post every week. I also want to let you know if you're really struggling with any challenging, difficult dementia-related behaviors, there's a link below this video that you can click in the description and save your spot to my free upcoming class on how to successfully respond to any challenging dementia-related behavior. I'll see you there. Okay, so how does somebody get a diagnosis